Hi, Elvira. Thank you for joining me today.
Of course.
Okay, well, we can get started. My first question is if you can tell me a little bit about what caregiving experience you have.
Okay, so my caregiving experience starts more so with like my grandpa because he lives in Mexico, but he had to come to like Chicago for the past couple of summers to like see like certain doctors and things like that. So it was like my responsibility as well as like some of my other family members to take care of him and do some of those like basic like caregiving type of tasks. And then also, I'm currently a personal care assistant for one of the students at Nugent. Um, and I've been doing that for like the past semester. I did it a little bit last year as well. So I kind of have like experience with working with like a more elder type of person and then also a student that is really like limited in terms of what they're able to do. Um, so I feel like I've had like a pretty diverse experience so far with caregiving.
Yeah, it definitely sounds that way. Like you're getting a lot of experience first through from your family, but also through the university and through your job. I'm sorry about your grandpa. I'm sure it was really difficult to have a grandparent move from Mexico to come to Chicago just to be able to get the treatment they need. Can you tell me a little bit about your worries both during that time and even now that you've gone through that caregiving experience?
I would say sometimes the worries, it has to do with like you kind of feel like you're in that position where like everything in relation to like their health and their daily lives is all dependent on you. And obviously, like I'm not a doctor or medical professional, so sometimes it can be like a little worrisome to take care of like a whole other individual because their life is basically and their daily tasks and things like that are basically like all on your watch. So it's just a thing of that. And then I would also say sometimes just like the comfort levels as well. With my grandpa, I feel like it wasn't as like strange or worrisome because that's like my grandpa. But I would say like more so with the student that I help at Nugent through school. I did have some concerns at first just because like I didn't know him, we didn't know each other. So reaching like that level of comfort where I'm basically like in his space, in his life, and things like that. Um, so I would say that is more so the worries in terms of the tasks that come with being a caregiver.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being a worry. I mean, you have someone's whole life kind of in their health in your hands. So I could see that, especially if you're not getting trained, if you aren't a doctor or a nurse, like you said, like I'm sure it can be frightening to have to take on that role. Um, and even the comfort level, I mean, I'm sure sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes you have to learn like how the other Kiri wants to be treated. So it's hard to find that balance right away. So I can imagine that being difficult too. What would you say some of the challenges you experienced were?
Um, I would say with again my grandpa, I don't think I had like that many challenges just because um I also like was assisted by like my mom or other family members, but I would say with the student from Nugent, um that some of the concerns were that just because he is like pretty like sensitive and he has a lot of other things going on. He's in a wheelchair for one. So it's just a thing of like doing everything at the right time as well because I'm sure like if you think about it like when you're if you're sitting in one place for like the whole day, like there's you have to time like when they need to go to the bathroom, like when to change them and things like that. So I feel like that was just kind of my concern, like doing those tests on time and doing them like the right way as well, and also making them feel comfortable again because it's a lot that goes into that. It's like showering, bathroom, changing clothes, putting on clothes, taking off clothes. So just having that done in like a certain amount of time, and being time efficient with it because if not, like it just kind of could throw off like the individual's like whole day or their mood, which is understandable because again, like they can't do it themselves, so they have to like wait on somebody else to do it.
Right. Yeah, I could not imagine depending on someone else, especially at this age. But I love how devoted you are to not only like meeting all of his needs, but also doing it in like a timely manner. Um, like I know you're also super busy. So I can imagine being there for someone else every time they need you is like can be like difficult. So I love how devoted you are to keeping up with him and his needs. Um, how would you say that your caregiving experience has affected your academic experience?
Um, I would say that it's definitely given me more of like the apply. So I'm like an eye health major, so a lot of my classes are like kinesiology, eye health, community health, a mix of those classes. So I feel like in class we always learn, or we have learned about certain like, like age groups and care, in terms of dispersing care with different age groups or different populations and things like that. So I feel like specifically with working with my grandpa, like I've been able to make the connections. Like I took this one class that was like care for elders or something like that. So I feel like I saw a lot of the connections from that class to what I was doing. And then I feel like also in terms of the student that I help, I took a class over the summer that was like rehab 330, and it was basically like um, about people with disabilities and things like that. So I feel like that working with him and then taking that class as well, like they both went like pretty parallel with each other, and I feel like it was um, easier to really understand what I'm learning because I'm more of a hands-on learner and like experience type of learner. So I feel like whatever I've learned, like it's helped me. And then like my goal is honestly to become a doctor in the long run. So I feel like some of these tasks like are also one of the basics of like learning how to care for someone. So I feel like that's also been beneficial to like my academic performance.
Yeah, that's awesome. It really sounds like the courses you've taken are really preparing you, and it's great that you're able to apply what you've learned to your caregiving experience. Um, well, my final question for you is what types of resources would have been useful to have from the university in terms of like support or academic help or anything you would have needed during your caregiving experience?
I would say two things. One would be a little bit more like training because again, like I didn't have like a training course or class to help this student. It was kind of just like a one-time shadowing thing, and then from there, I was kind of like the expectation of like knowing how to do like everything. Um, so I feel like the first few weeks it was like a bit like I needed a little bit of reminders from the student and things like that. So it would have been helpful to have like some sort of course or something if we were to work with those students. And I would say another thing would be like, yeah, like there are times where it does take up a little bit more of my time. Sometimes the shifts don't always go like as planned or as scheduled. So I feel like there have been a couple times I've been like a little bit late to class. So I think it would be kind of like helpful if there was like some sort of like letter or pass that like caregivers had to use as like an excuse to class or something whenever like those shifts do run late, because like I give my care like on like quality versus like the time of it. So like there's certain times where, like I'm not just gonna leave because it's like 2 p.m. and that's when it ends, like if I'm not fully done giving the care that I'm supposed to give. So those would be like the only two things I would say.
Yeah, that's definitely great feedback. The training is always important. I mean, like you keep saying, you're not yet a doctor or a nurse, so obviously you need training. I also think that the communication between the carry and your professors is a great idea. Just having like that backup if you need it of why you're late to class, because I know some professors are really strict about that too. So
Yeah.
that's great feedback. Well, that's all I had for you today. So thank you for joining me and telling me about your experience.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.